I started experimenting with just like asking myself the question, like, how could we sell what we sell faster, easier? What would it look like if it were easy for us to sell the stuff we did? And that started me down this path of productizing, which is really just like taking the services that we did that would last weeks or months with our clients, the stuff that we would show up to get paid to do. We started packaging them in ways that we were either teaching in very like quick formats that were profitable, or packaging those tools and our knowledge into online resources that our future customers could buy and start to use on their own.
Episode 12 of LinkedIn Marketing Mastery. Today with us, Jay Melone. Jay has been an entrepreneur for 15 years and he has a lot to share. For sure, you'll find a lot of things that you're struggling with right now that Jay can help you with. But the most important thing, the idea of productizing services. And this is the subject of today's episode, effortless revenue multiplication.
Anyone who's struggling with lead generation, the feast and famine cycle in their business, constantly chasing after leads and then having to catch up with delivery after signing the clients. Just stay tuned because Jay's going to spill all the beans on how to tackle the problem.
Easy.
If he doesn't want to, we'll make him. All right, Jay.
Yeah.
So do you want to give us a little bit of an introduction? I know your previous company was called New Haircut. What made you, what brought the idea of productizing, and what exactly is productizing?
Sure. Yep. So New Haircut was a company that I started in 2010. It was a strategy company. It still exists. I've just kind of like pushed it into the background. And I built it for the first 10 years, sort of like blindfolded. I had no sales and marketing training, all sort of self-taught. And I just basically followed the playbook of get out there and cold DM and cold email, a lot of prospecting, a lot of time spent in pitch meetings, creating proposals that went unanswered. It was like very, very draining work. It's not the reason I went into business. I went into business to do the work, not to necessarily sell the work. Surprise, when you go into business, you have to do both. You have to figure out how to do both. But it doesn't mean that I loved it. And I spent 10 years doing that. And it was very much like a roller coaster. The work that I did eventually was with great companies, Ford, Home Depot, MailChimp, Amazon, Google, great companies to work with and to have as logos on your website. But getting into their companies, becoming an approved vendor, getting through all of the approvals, years, most of the time 12 to 18 months, very much a slog to get those contracts. So just as I would win that relationship and go and do the work, I would have to kind of get back on the roller coaster and start selling the next thing so that we could stay in business. Actually, Donna referred to this as the burnout carousel, which I love because it was very much that. So I did that
It is.
tirelessly for the better part of 11 years. And then around 2020, I started experimenting with just like asking myself the question, like, how could we sell what we sell faster, easier? What would it look like if it were easy for us to sell the stuff we did? And that started me down this path of productizing, which is really just like taking the services that we did that would last weeks or months with our clients, the stuff that we would show up to get paid to do. We started packaging them in ways that we were either teaching in very like quick formats that were profitable, or packaging those tools and our knowledge into online resources that our future customers could buy and start to use on their own. So that's like the short and sweet of productizing.
That's awesome. As an example, like what were you doing with New Haircut?
The work I was doing, yeah, we would run these. We had like a few frameworks that we would run, and the goal was to try to help a Home Depot. They were saying, hey, we've got this new idea that we want to take to market, a new product that we're thinking about creating. Before we go all in on this and spend millions of dollars, can your team come in, do some research, do some discovery, prototype some ideas, test it with the market, make sure it's a good fit, make sure it's the right bet for us to invest in. So we would do that upfront due diligence for them. It'd last a few months. Very intense, a lot of performance, a lot of people coming into the room and doing like cross-functional people being in the room together, trying to negotiate and tackle new ideas. So for me, as the orchestrator and the facilitator of those meetings, and those workshops, it was highly performative. So it took a lot out of me. But the result was a new idea that they could take to market that would create like massive momentum for the company. So it was,
Right.
I appreciated the work, but it was just, it took quite a toll to not only to do it, but then on top of it to sell it.
So basically, productizing comes to replace some of the work you were doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it started with training because what happened was I would be in, so like one of the frameworks that we used to do the work that we did, sort of like innovation and brainstorming, was called a design sprint. It's a framework that came out of Google. We got really popular as a consulting company to trust to do that process really well. And I noticed that like when I was in that sprint, I liked that part of the process. But then people would ask me questions, like clients that were in the room or peers that worked inside the company that were curious about how I was doing what I was doing, that asked me questions. And I really enjoyed knowing what I was talking about and being able to answer those questions and teach and coach. And I never saw myself as an educator, but it was enough, it happened enough to me and my business partner at the time that we started asking ourselves, what if we just took these pieces out and we started teaching it instead of like spending weeks and months to sell this big, expensive 6-figure thing? What if we just took parts of it out and started teaching it? And that became like our first productized offer. It was more packaged. We took our knowledge and we packaged it into 2-day in-person training workshops. And they were great. We were selling $30,000, $50,000 training workshops in 2 days. It took a lot. Of course, we had to build up all the material, fill the cohort, but the ROI on those things was through the roof compared to our service-based work.
Were they always in person?
Pre-COVID, yep, for sure. You were considered batshit crazy if you tried to do any of these things virtually. The more and more we got toward just, I think like because technology, because of the market, because our clients, big, enterprise sized clients, often their teams were spread all over the world. So we were getting asked, how could we do this for our team in China at the same time as our team in Palo Alto and in New York? So we had to start figuring it out. And eventually we did. And it was very fortunate that we did figure that out because that enabled our productized version of toolkits that was very virtual, very pre-recorded online things that didn't have us in the room.
Right. So now, when you teach this to people, do you teach them how to do it online? Like do you create digital courses and packages like this?
Yeah, it was a really helpful experience. I learned a bunch of tools, all very self-taught. So learning management tools like Podia and Teachable and Thinkific. I just experimented, kind of like plotted my way through in the dark of trying to figure out how to organize all the materials in a place that someone can go and download them and watch the pre-recorded videos. But now, yeah, most of the stuff that I teach people, especially those that are looking for like a low ticket offer to put at the top of their funnel to get people to quickly evaluate, learn what they do, and feel like there's somebody that they want to work with. An online course, something that is digital, something that's a quick, painless transaction is a great idea. I do tend to want them to do something live and in person first because there's nothing quite yet that replaces sitting with one-on-one or sitting with a cohort of people and teaching them a thing and them, glazing over. There's a part in your curriculum where they just don't get what you're saying. You understand that you have to like tell a story. You have to add context. You have to give them an example that they can latch onto, or you give them a template and they just have no idea how to fill it in. That's hard to replace when you just create the template and it's something online. It's hard to get that feedback. So I do recommend starting with at least semi-live or fully live before you turn that into a completely digital option.
Yeah, absolutely. I can understand that. I mean, there's a lot you can learn from the presential trainings, and that feedback can be used to improve what you have, like the products that you're selling to your audience. Why, before we advance, everybody loves tools, and you mentioned that experimented a lot with tools for online trainings. What's your favorite right now?
The funny thing is, New Haircut is almost a company that you have to search for in order to know it exists, in order to know that I'm still running it. And the toolkits that I created for them, they're still out there on the internet. I use Podia as sort of like the platform that brings all of those tools together. So when you go to the toolkit, you're actually creating an account inside of Podia, which is just a learning management system.
All right.
You find all the videos that I've recorded. You find all the guides that I created, the templates, the resources. The cool thing about tools like Podia, their competitors are Teachable, Thinkific, even like to some degree Kajabi. Although I'm not a big fan of platforms like that. Those sort of like kitchen sink platforms where you get
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, I'm with you, but there's a lot of platforms that are moving in that direction. Like I've been almost a lifetime user of GetResponse, and I've
Mm.
experimented with all other email platforms, and I always come back to GetResponse. And even GetResponse introduced a tool to create courses on it, and like they're expanding. All of them seem to be going in that direction of the Swiss Army knife, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So yeah, I've been using Podia for a long time for new haircut stuff. For my new business, Profit Ladder, I've been leaning on Teachable. They've got a great team there. They've been great partners to help me build some of my early products that I'm experimenting with. Similar in terms of like what they offer. They also are now adding things like email sequencing. Speaking of email, I use Beehive as my email provider. So that's where my newsletter exists, where I kind of like go deeper from my LinkedIn content. I bring people into my email newsletter with Beehive.
Yeah, if anybody's is interested in learning more about what Jay does, you'll find the newsletter link in the show notes.
Yeah.
So let's move a little bit further in the direction of LinkedIn. For people who are selling services on LinkedIn, right? What is the advantage? First of all, the advantage of creating a product. Like I'm guessing, and this is how I see it, and correct me if I'm wrong, like they're replacing themselves to a certain degree.
Yeah, there's a few things that are happening. So like when I first thought about productizing, I'm an entrepreneur. So I thought about like how could I develop a new revenue stream where I don't have to be showing up and selling my time for money. And that did happen. The toolkits, since I created them 4 years ago, I've sold $80,000 worth of toolkits. But the blind spot I had was how instrumental they were to replacing all of the touch points in the customer journey that you don't tend to see. The people that are showing up to your blog, that are reading your LinkedIn content but not necessarily engaging with it, that are coming to your website, that are downloading templates and things that you've created. Those toolkits started a lot of my customers down that path before I had to like spend time on them before they were ready to hire me, because I'm not cheap in that work that I do. So I would lose so many hours talking to people that had $10,000 budgets when my stuff was $100,000, or even like $1,000 for something that I would sell for 10. By going through and using those toolkits, they would self-educate on the problems that my solution solved for them. And by the time we got into a call, they were 80% sold. And a lot of my calls with them would start with like, Jay, I just got to tell you, I use your toolkits. I can't tell you how much they help for a project we had. I'd love to talk to you about another project that we have, where maybe you can come in and do it for us, because we clearly don't know as much as you do. And that for me was the reminder that it's so tempting to hold our best stuff back or assume that nobody can be successful without us in the room, but it's just not true. If you kind of like give them everything you've got, they're going to hit a ceiling where they're not the expert that you are in this thing that you do, and they're going to call you in when they have a thing that they need your expertise on.
Absolutely. In marketing terms, what you're describing is called a tripwire. So, which is the hardest step in marketing is to turn someone from a prospect to a client. It's the absolute hardest. So when you put a tripwire in front of them, basically you're telling them like, okay, you can become a client, and it's not as hard. It's just $10, so it's pretty easy. Now the person already spent money with you. Because they spent money, they're also investing their time better in consuming what you gave them, and as opposed to a free lead magnet, a free gift. And now they're ready to advance to the next stage. You build trust with them, and you are the next logical solution, basically. And this brings us back to what Alex Hormozy says: teach everything you know and sell the implementation. All your secrets. That's what he says.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm guessing that you'd recommend anybody on LinkedIn to help sell their services to start with this tripwire sort of thing, right? Right?
Yeah, well, I think the thing about LinkedIn too is you really, and I've learned a lot from both of you as well as some others, is that showing up on LinkedIn with your tripwire, your lead magnet, and assuming people are just going to like naturally trust it. It's like when you go to the website and you see the free coaching call for 30 minutes and people don't understand why wouldn't people jump at that free 30-minute coaching call? Because they have no idea if it's going to be worth their time. So LinkedIn is that first level where you're demonstrating to people that you're here to help them, you're here to serve, you're here to give your knowledge and your value as much as you can. And yeah, Donna's constantly reminding me to be patient with the process because you create all these things and you offer your free resource that you've created, and it's kind of crickets for a little while, and you just really do have to keep at it. But to answer your question, should people give something away? I think for sure. I mean, like all of my webinars are free. My newsletter is free. I create documents that give away how I productize. I just created like a 5 steps to productize your first service. And very much so, it's how I would approach working with someone that's going to spend a few grand.
My question was, should the first product be a tripwire, meaning that it should be a low ticket product or a free product, more along those lines?
Hmm. Should it? Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess back to your point, it's easy for someone to spend $10 before they spend $1,000 on you. So it makes sense to do it that way. When I built my flywheel, I kind of built it in reverse. So I started with my high ticket offer,
Absolutely,
and
that's how I do it.
everything that I created kind of went backward from there. If I wanted to sell this $30,000 thing, how can I like how can I overcome their first objection? How can I help them
Move
with a
them
smaller
closer.
piece, move them closer and closer and closer? And eventually, everything that they would discover was free and low ticket, but it would help them take that next step.
Right.
Jay, because I realize that probably some complete newbies in the audience, can you give some examples of what a productized offer looks like? Because I was clueless when you and I met each other. I have no idea what this means
Yeah.
apart from a digital course.
Yep. Well, yeah, they're kind of related. So right now I do one-on-one strategy work to help people find an offer they can take to market. So what I plan to do is do that work 1,000 times over the next couple of years. And as I work with people one-on-one, 50 people are going to ask the same question almost at the same time every time. Okay. So there's some curiosity there. There's some objection they have. There's some anxiety that they're feeling at that stage. That can almost become a course in itself, maybe something very small where I address that question to help that person take that next step. I'm also going to create worksheets and guides because right now I'm going to show up and I'm going to pull all the information out of people's heads. I do have some boards to help people think through what they're doing, but I'm going to start to templatize and create worksheets so that when we show up, there's homework that they've done so that we can go much deeper into that conversation. At first, those worksheets and templates are only going to be things that my paying clients get access to, but eventually I'm going to just make them available to anyone who wants to begin to think about an offer that they could create. So, and then what I can do with those templates and worksheets and the questions I know and the conversations that I know I'm going to have with people is I can package all that stuff into an online course and I can sell that. And that can become the lower ticket version of working with me. So, from one service that I'm doing today with people that's live and high ticket and one on one, I can create templates, I can create worksheets, I can create scripts for them, I can create online courses, I can create a simpler email-based course to help people to get started with productizing. So that's what I mean to productize the work that I'm doing and the work that you're doing.
I think that's probably the best explanation that I've heard of productizing.
It's helpful
This
when you're dog fooding your own stuff because you know exactly what it looks like and how to help somebody else do the same thing for the work that they're doing.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to touch on something that you said there, like that most people are doing on LinkedIn is offering the free call. But I'm completely opposed to the idea of offering a free call on LinkedIn because you're asking for a huge compromise for the person. Yes, for you, it's a free call. You think you're giving something away for free, but you're also asking for their time and their trust to get on a call with you. And you haven't earned that trust yet.
Yeah.
So when you put that product, that what I call a lead magnet, what you call it the first offer, I also call it a first offer. But it's if it's free, when you put it out there and you give first before you ask for something, because when you're telling them, I get on a free call with me, you're asking for something. You're asking for their time. You're asking for their trust. So if you give first, you're building that trust and you're building that authority before they actually have to take the step to get on a call with you. So for me, then the follow-up is the email sequence, and it's the most important thing. But I love the idea of putting something out there first and giving something that brings people close to you, is aligned with your offer, so it moves them closer to becoming a paid client, and it also builds that trust, which is what you were describing before. People just come to you and they say, "Oh, can you help us next?" Because you are the next logical solution,
Right.
and the
Yeah.
one they trust the most with this subject.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not that, of course, like you can have conversations with people, but as soon as you package it as my free 60-minute power hour coaching call, everybody knows that they're going to be sold something at the end of that. But it's much different if you go through a series of like conversations with the person, you get to know them, you share similarities that you have with them, you point out a couple things that are interesting and helpful for them, and then you say, hey, like, if you want, we can go into it further over a 30-minute call. And, like if you organically realize that there's a thing that you can help them out with, it's simple to just ask them, like, would you like some help with that? It feels much different than sign up for my 30-minute coaching call. You just there's just this known assumption that there's a sale at the end of that coming.
Yeah. And actually, there's another way to look at it. What you're giving them is helpful, but it's also a way to help them buy, because the buying process has a lot of issues, and one of them is like figuring out what you're going to buy, how you're going to buy it, and what you're putting in front of them is helping them figure that out. I see in my work most people struggle with knowing what lead magnet to use, what to put out there, what to give away, and because also maybe they are afraid of giving too much for free, but also because they don't know what makes sense, right? So
Mm.
I think most of the times, if you can look at it as how can I help them buy my service, that makes it very helpful.
You know what? This is really relevant, and I'll be like totally open book here, because I'm going through this struggle right now of how do I give value to someone on LinkedIn. And I think like if I dig down to the root of it, I've got a lot of people that I'm connected with on LinkedIn from the previous work that I did. And so like when I jump into a DM with them, there's probably not something that I can be helpful for, because they're thinking about getting a promotion as a product leader in corporate America. That's not something that I'm going to be super helpful for. But like then I just lump everybody together. Well, there's nothing that I can do to be helpful. And that's because I'm not like really well positioned to know exactly who I can help and to look for things that they're doing that I can jump into a conversation and say, hey, I saw that you created a course. I'll go through it and give you a little bit of feedback if that's something that you're looking for. Like things like that. But it all starts with being really clear on who you can help. And then you can, like jumping into DMs and giving actually valuable tips, it almost becomes very natural and organic.
Absolutely. The creation of a dream client avatar, it all spawns from there. Most people call it the ideal client profile. I like to call it an avatar.
Jay, you said something interesting that I would like you to expand on to. Who is productizing for? Because I can picture it immediately when it comes to coaches. Like, you're coaching one-on-one, at some point you just hit the ceiling, you can't do it anymore. You just can't make more revenue this way. So with coaching, that's very straightforward. But how about other professions and
Yeah.
occupations?
So one of the key tenets of selling and product and marketing, of course, is to like, because my first answer is like, well, anyone can productize, but it's definitely not the case, because like a friend of mine was just talking about, he has an audience of dentists, And the problem that dentists face is the same problem that consultants face. They are in a chair all day in people's mouths, which sounds kind of strange, and they don't have time to build the business. They're just constantly in the practice. But like, I probably don't have good ideas for a course or something that a dentist could create, but it's hard to find new patients. You have to do like SEO and geographic kind of like geo-targeting things, and you just run out of ways to amplify the amount of people coming into your practice. But like a dentist is probably a little bit further out because they're probably not going to spend the time to learn the tools, to learn digital marketing. I think consultants and people that are doing, especially like digital marketing work, and they already understand how funnels work, that are selling especially high ticket services that have long sales cycles, that are constantly in the work and can't lift their heads up to be thinking about strategically how to grow and scale their business. I think they're prime targets to start to build that flywheel with free and low ticket productized offers. The challenge for me, to be clear, was that I was building these toolkits that I sold that were either free or they were like $200. And then on the other end of all the way at the other end of my flywheel was a $50,000 offer that I was selling. So I was constantly thrashing between how can I justify building this little toolkit that I'm selling for $250 versus the $50,000 thing. And not like, to be honest with you, I stopped and started a lot of times until a year or so went by and I saw that not only the numbers of the toolkit sales, but all of like the funnel that just kept widening, because as people were buying the toolkit, they were organically drifting into my inbox to say, hey, used your toolkit, want to have a conversation about a project. And it was that jump from $80,000 in toolkit sales. The resulting sales of my premium work was close to $900,000.
Wow.
But it was hard to see that looking forward. Looking backward, it's just so obvious to me. So I have that like curse of knowledge when a consultant or a coach comes to me and says, why would I stop to do this when I can just go and prospect for a little while and sign my next six-figure client? And my answer is like, how's that working for you? And how well are you able to scale and have a little bit of time and freedom in your life if you're constantly selling and doing?
Now that Jay was talking about the dentist, just as he was speaking, I just remembered, I just pictured exactly how this would look like. Instagram channel, super free course on, I don't know, how to recognize whether you have periodontal disease or something like that. Boom, you're in
Yeah.
the email list. And it's visibility. Like, I wouldn't even pitch anything if I was a dentist, because my husband is a dentist. I wouldn't even pitch anything. I would just send maybe monthly, like, info emails with just health advice, because
Yeah.
I'm sure that next time someone has a dental problem, they would go to like that guy who sends the emails, who did that really cool course.
Yeah.
If you think about it, in the States, dentists and chiropractors are geniuses at this. They've been implementing this for many years and very well. And it's basically the idea like you go in for a free consultation. And when you go in, they basically just pointing out a bunch of problems. All right, either you do something about this or you're screwed. And we get out of there with this idea. All right, I definitely need to give you the next $20,000 I make. You know.
Yeah. Before
Yeah.
my teeth fall out of my head. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's just like, I think like for me, the people that I want to work with today, I don't want to have to like, I think this applies to anyone that's thinking about who their ideal client persona is. Like, if I have to educate that dentist for a year in order for him to work with me to build a course, that's not my ideal customer. But what I can do is get him on my newsletter, send him a bunch of free resources, help him start to experiment on his own until a year from now, when his business has only grown 10% and he wants to like have a new office and he just doesn't have that kind of like growth lever quite yet. Now he's sort of self-educated and he's ready to consider what it would look like to scale without his traditional approach to marketing and selling.
Yeah, it feels to me like productizing and email marketing are kind of married and very happy
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, in this conversation, I understood that it's basically the creation of lead magnets and tripwires. Obviously, there are other levels of productizing, I would imagine, but these are the first ones. And this is basically the concept of building an email list. And I know that this concept scares a lot of people, but the list of contacts that you have on your phone, some of them are work contacts. How valuable are these contacts? You can reach out to these people and ask for something, right? Or you can reach out to them and say, hey, I have this service for you that I might be able to help you. Now with the email list, once they get in through a product of these, a lead magnet, a tripwire, they're basically qualifying themselves as leads. They're telling you, I have this problem, so tell me what to do next. So if you follow through and they're like, and you're building that list of contacts that every time you click send, all of them are receiving this, you're basically building a list of leads that anytime, at any point, like Jay was saying, they will just raise their hand and tell you, hey, I'm ready, you know, so
Yeah.
sell me something.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like for the person listening and kind of like on the edge, there's so many objections that I had going into it. I was worried about, is it going to cheapen my brand? Here I am selling a $50,000 package to Ford, and at the same time, I'm selling a $200 toolkit. And then just in general, I think like so many people have rushed to online courses, especially post pandemic, that there's a lot of crap out there. So you don't want to be associated with that. And yet, like, when you find the thing, when you find the course or the templates that change your business and really help you, there is some gold out there. It's just a matter of like building it the right way and not just assuming you can scrap something together over a weekend and it's gonna print money for you. It's not how it works. It's definitely not about overnight money machines being made, all that stuff. Like the passive income, 7-figure passive income in a week is nonsense. You know, these things, I think, like Fred, you and I were talking about this over LinkedIn. None of this work is easy, but once you've built the system, it
Yep.
definitely becomes a lot more simple. The fact that I built toolkits 4 years ago and I wake up every single day to people downloading something, and then once or twice a week, remember, this is a company I'm not even actively running, but one or two a week, people buying a toolkit that I created 4 years ago, and then one of them per month, every other month, coming into my inbox to say, hey, I have a project. I'm interested in hiring you. Like that is business building on easy mode. It really is.
And that with
Absolutely.
no advertising. I just want to point this out. This is with no advertising.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm a terrible.
Yeah.
I've tried to do ads and I'm awful at doing them. I've spent no money on marketing those toolkits. They market
But you
themselves.
you have the resources. What you have, if you put it together with advertising, you can create a money making machine.
100%.
Because basically, like usually, so what I do best is strategy, right? And as a rule of thumb, and it sometimes it's different. As a rule of thumb, if your traffic is organic, then the free lead magnet is the next logical step. But if you're paying for advertising, you can very well position a tripwire, which is that low ticket offer that people buy out of impulse. So the idea here is that it's an impulse buy, and then after that, on straight away, like they get the one-time offer that increases the value of the offer. So that's what pays for the ad cost. It's
Mhm.
not the first product that pays for the ad cost, right? But if you're doing organic, like for example, if you're publishing on LinkedIn, you have content on LinkedIn going out, all you have to do is put out a free one, something for free that builds that trust and positions you as that authority. And now people are, and then you put a CTA at the end of your post, and you tell them, all right, here's how you can find out more about what I just told you here in this post. Just go there and download this, and now they're going to the next step. And then through your email list, you're giving them more and more information and starting to build that. And at any point, these people will become a client if you keep giving them the option to do so. You know.
Yeah. Which is why like your free stuff should be just as good, if not better, than the stuff that is paid
Oh
because
yeah.
first impressions are lasting, of course.
No, I would say even better. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with most people saying, "Oh, I tried a lead magnet, it didn't work."
Hmm.
Yeah, it wasn't good
It was
enough.
a piece of shit.
because people associate automatically the person who's downloading it or who's getting that resource or who it's being offered to is already thinking, oh, this is free, so it's not good. And when you are making it and you are creating, thinking, I'm going to give this away for free, you're in the same mindset. So there's
100%.
two bullshit mindsets that don't
That's
connect
great.
with each other. So you have to build it with the idea that it's going to be so good that you could sell it for $100, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
And even if you give it away for free, you have to sell it even more than if you were selling a paid product, because they need to understand the value of it.
Yeah. So, like you mentioned, Hormozy, he's constantly talking about giving it all away for free, and um, I think like he's constantly talking about giving away your best stuff.
Give away everything and sell the implementation, because that's where it connects. And when you're putting everything out there, that's where the fear comes in. Oh, I'm giving all my secrets. You're giving away all your secrets, but people don't know how to implement it. They don't have the time, they don't have the experience, they don't have the know-how. So they can go and figure it out by themselves. And even if they do, they already built you up as an authority. They might even recommend you to others. And if they don't, they know you are the person to do it. And they're going to go and say, hey, Jay, please help me out. I downloaded your resource, like you were saying. And then comes in the idea of having always the next offer aligned, no
Yeah.
matter where they are in the journey. So they downloaded that. A lot of those people who downloaded that resource are already thinking, all right, what's next?
Yeah.
So don't miss that step.
Like when I know I found something that's valuable, is I'm asking the one question: why is this person giving this away for free? So like
Hmm.
the free stuff, when I ask that question, and they even like the paid stuff, Hormozy's thing is make it so valuable that people feel stupid saying no. It's so overly simple, that
It is.
phrase, but it's helped me think about, instead of thinking about like what's the most amount of money I can squeeze out of this thing, flipping that on its head to be like, if this thing is $200, how can I make the person buying it feel like it should be worth 2,000? It's like such a simple framework to like put our best stuff into it and just surprise people, just delight people because we're so used to being taken advantage of.
Yeah. And also we have this concept in our heads of balance, in as in what we give and what we receive, right? So if you ask too much, you are creating a debt. Or Moses speaks about this as well. If you give too much, you are creating goodwill. And the
Mm,
human always tries, by rule, psychologically, we always try to give back when we've been given to. So if we start receiving too much from one person, we feel in debt to
mm.
them. So that's the feeling we want to create, not the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
about
Mo-
reciprocity.
yeah, it's a big thing. I mean, we underestimate it, but like I hate to owe people stuff. When someone does something for me, I hate it. I hate it. Like, "Oh, all right, what can I do for you? Like, can I
Right.
help you with this? Like, okay, you paid lunch the other day. Let me pay this time, you know?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, don't go to dinner or lunch with my dad. He's constantly finding the waiter before they get to the table and handing them their credit card. And you're like, Dad, let me
Mine
pay
is
for the bill
similar.
once.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jay, I have a question for you. I had this period last year when I just hated courses, like just absolutely hated them because I bought two, three courses and they were just so horrible. It was not really a waste of money because we're talking about 50, $100 courses, but it was mainly a waste of time, which
Mm,
pissed me off immensely because I spent 1 hour of my time going through something that you probably wrote in less time than I spent going through it. And this is when I actually realized that these people are using courses as a lead magnet, and that karma is actually going to get them, because you're never going to get someone to do an upsell, to go for an upsell from such a crappy course. So I guess this begs the question: how do you make a good course?
You have to do it the other way around. You have to do the thing. You have to have the skill already. You have to have done the work and then think about how could I put my knowledge and tools in somebody's hand. I think a lot of people think about it in reverse. They say, I'm just going to scrap together this course so that I can sell them the thing at the end. And most people will come into that course not having your context, your background. They won't understand how to use your tools. You're just missing a ton of it because you didn't actually do the work to teach it to a live human being and understand that what you were teaching them was actually valuable, and to hear where they got stuck and the challenges and how to make it better. Because, of course, like if you're doing a service or teaching a thing out in the real world, there's 100 different little micro events where you help somebody get unstuck, or you share a quick story, or you lean over their shoulder and you say, not like that, like this. So your course needs to be able to like answer all of those things, because maybe like you, I can't tell you how many courses or challenges or cohorts or communities I signed up for because of what's on the box. But I go into it thinking from the start, like, this isn't going to work. I'm not going to be successful with it. So like your course has to overcome all of the crap and the objections and the limiting beliefs that that person already has about themselves. It has to way over deliver in order to be a helpful experience for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this makes a
Mm,
lot of sense.
Personally, I wouldn't even position I wouldn't even position a course as a lead magnet. I would rather charge a little bit for it, because that, again, that's that concept of it's free and it sucks, you know, like it's not very valuable. He gave it away for free.
No, I meant a paid lead magnet, Fran. It's paid, but they use it as a lead magnet, a tripwire, and then you just get bombarded with emails about the premium services. And
Yeah.
my thinking was, why would I ever go for your premium services if your course was so shit in the first place?
Yep. Actually, it's really interesting. Everything's relative too. Like we're talking about free to a couple $100. Somebody commented on a post I had yesterday about like shrinking your work and offering like a wedge product or something, like something introductory that just shows them. It could even be like a package service that is a week instead of like your year-long transformation journey stuff that you sell. And he actually sells that small thing for $80,000. But then if they buy it, he comps that as part of their bigger retainer, which he didn't share how much that price is, but I would imagine it's multiple six figures. So
Yeah.
perspective is really interesting when you think about what is the smallest unit of value you could give to people that gets them to buy the next thing from you. So like the unit of measure, and I think I got this from Layla Hormozy, Alex's wife, is what I'm thinking about when I create a course or any kind of like small thing is how can I minimize my client's time to value? So the smallest win that I can deliver for them. It's why when you sign up for a SaaS platform, they fill in your details, they send you an onboarding kit, they help you integrate your first thing so you can take the first step. They never give you like a blank screen. They're trying to shrink that time to value for you so that you stick with it and that so that you go through it.
Yeah, actually, Hormozy has a brilliant formula about the value of an offer, and it always ties back to
It's
time. So
literally on
it's
my office
basically,
wall right here.
yeah, because that's what you're doing. That's what you're talking about. It's really important. Like, people underestimate others' time, and like, oh, I'm giving you my course for free, right? But you're still asking for my time to consume it.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
like,
yeah. It's so important. This is so important.
yeah, the most important thing I always speak about when it comes to lead magnets is quick to consume, actionable, and then the third is that it aligns with your offer. If you give them a PDF with 40 pages and it's free, who's going to read it? I mean, I remember the time where everybody was giving PDFs for free as a lead magnets. Like, I don't know, I have a bunch of them on my computer that I never opened. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean, I
yeah,
created one that was 15, and Donna and I have been talking about like shrinking it, making it like a couple pages because it's true. And that's maybe like that's where you have to give snippets of it somewhere else in your newsletter, in your social feed, so that by the time somebody opens a 10-page something or other that you've created, they know what to expect. They're like willing
Sometimes
to
it's the
go on.
positioning as well, Jay,
Mhm.
because when we're working with organic traffic, right? So these people, they haven't been enticed enough. We haven't sold it enough to them. So, for example, I'm working with a client right now where we are positioning a product like this, and it's 40 pages, and it's being sold. It's currently being sold at $1 as like a promotion. We're going to increase the price, and still have to do some tests. This is organic traffic, right? But they didn't come in to buy the product or to get that product. There's another step before, and then the next logical step is, now if you want, get this workbook. It's a workbook. It's actually actionable. So it's 40 pages, and it's not very short, but it's actionable, and it leaves you with something at the end of it, you
Yep.
know.
Yeah. You said everybody likes tools, and you rattled off a couple of things that you're doing. I love quizzes and assessments. You can make them fun and non-cringy, and they actually like help people. Like Donna's husband, give a quiz to see if you have periodontal disease. I use Score App and Outgrow. Those are two nice tools that help you build well-designed assessments and quizzes and surveys.
I use Thrive Quiz Builder because I integrated with my WordPress website. But the idea with quizzes for me is, a lot of people were using quizzes just for fun and to get information out of the client. Again, it's the same thing.
Yeah,
Give first
yeah,
before you ask. And the
exactly.
quizzes that I build, it's productizing basically. It's focused on giving a result. So, for example, I have one right now that you can get from my profile, which is it scores how your profile is able to attract people to you.
Hmm.
It gives you a score in return, and then I have another one who is a self-assessment that tells you where you should be focusing your marketing right now. So the idea is giving something to the person, not just asking questions for no reason.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that concept of actually productizing the quiz. What's your favorite?
I like Outgrow's pricing more than I do Score Apps, but they're both, and Outgrow has a little bit more flexibility in terms of what you can do and how you can, like for a quiz, you can get really fancy in terms of how you calculate the results for them.
Any of you know of a free one to start with?
You could probably wrangle Google Forms or Airtable to
Oh
do
yeah,
some stuff that takes inputs and provides outputs.
yeah, that's true. Google Forms works as well. Jay, so we're talking about this entry level product, right? I'm guessing there's more to it, no? Like, is there a way to productize higher ticket services? Not high ticket per se, but higher ticket.
Yeah, I mean, my toolkits very much were a productized version of the 30, $50,000 service that I ran. I wasn't in the room with them, and that's why it was 250 bucks instead of 30, $50,000. But my goal in creating them, and maybe like this is something that you have to ask yourself, my goal in building the toolkits was actually at first not to upsell for somebody to hire me. I wanted somebody to use the toolkit and get the feeling that I gave them everything I've got, not that I blocked off 3 of the 5 chapters or held back certain templates. I mean, that's definitely a lever you can pull if you want to like create a thing and out of the gate tell them, I'm going to help get you through steps 1 through 3. Steps 4 through 6, you'd have to work with me in order to do that. That's one approach to do it. I took a different approach because I was at the point where the work itself was overwhelming to me. So I was trying to create a new format that was shorter time to value, a lot cheaper, a lot riskier than hiring a person. And I think a lot of coaches can learn from this because they have intimate relationships with their coaching clients. And the idea of putting a product in between them and that relationship, which is often like a weekly call where they go deep into it. I have one client who does trauma work for executive leaders, and she's constantly like thrashing between like, is this something that I can give to my client um, in exchange of me being there with them? And we've agreed that no, that's a bad idea. But she's also $500 an hour, which a lot of her, maybe not the executive leader, but their team members, their managers, their junior level managers can't afford her today. So what from her work could she take and shrink into a package that can get them started on healing themselves, so that when they're ready and they understand that this work actually is transformative and they have the cash, they can hire her.
It's about the long-term results as well. And I hate to be talking about Hormozy so often, but it leads us back to him.
All paths lead to Hormozy. All right.
It seems so. He only works with companies that are making over 6 million a year. And so everything, and he says everything I do before that, my books, my content, he has like all his courses are free on his website. And he says all of it is to bring you to this step. When you get to 6 million, we'll talk.
Yeah. And like, so the objection that someone's going to have to that is, yeah, he's almost a billionaire. So he has the luxury and the privilege of giving everything away for free. And his stuff, I go through his training things. And even though I know he's a multimillionaire, I'm like, how did he spend the time and give this all away for free? His books, like he always says, like if he could make his books free, he would, but he has to charge at least like a couple bucks.
Yeah.
But like, what about the average business owner or entrepreneur that's just getting started and worried about giving away all of their expertise out of the gate? And I think that's just something you have to, and I think that goes back to Donna's question. Once you've seen the results of your work and you've done it with people and you know it stands for itself, that confidence and knowing all the challenges and the obstacles that people have as they go through that process with you, I think all of that experience, pouring all of that into your course and making it much cheaper than it is to hire you, I think that for me is the mindset you need to get to. Because anything else is going to be too selfish, too greedy, too thinking about how to spin your flywheel and make more money overnight, while you're working from the beach. Like that's just not, I don't think that mindset is helpful.
No. It doesn't serve you in the long run.
Yeah.
No, unless you just want to be some Instagram guru, influencer sort of thing.
Yeah.
I'd love to continue talking for another hour or two. I love this subject, and it's very close to me. Jay, this has been amazing. If anybody is thinking about productizing their service and they want to get started, what should they do? Should they do like to reach out to you? I'm guessing subscribe to your newsletter is one of them, but you want to give us some pointers on how to get in touch with you?
Yep, profitladder.net. That's right now, it's mostly just all of my ideas spilled out into my newsletter, which is free. So you can, like see if this is kind of the thing that is interesting to you. And then if you're interested, there are links that you'll find to set up a free 30-minute assessment. I'm actually doing a free audit where I take people through and really kind of like open up their business and understand it and audit it. And I tell them if they're ready to come up with a productized offer. So I do, like, going back to what we talked about, I do try to make it totally valuable for them.
Exactly. Give first. I love it. So yeah, you'll find also the links to Jay's newsletter and website, and even his LinkedIn profile down in the show notes if you're listening to the recording, either on YouTube or Spotify. And if you are, just let us know what you thought about this episode. Did you like it? Give us a thumbs up. And subscribe if you want to see the next one. Next one will be fun as well. It will be very deep in marketing as well.
Oh yeah.
To join our community, which is a free community at the moment. There's some plans to start charging for it. Right now, it's just a place where you can go, ask anything you want about marketing, about LinkedIn marketing specifically, about your content on LinkedIn. So find that link down in the show notes or in the description. And I'll see you there.
Thanks, Fran. Great conversation. Great to be here with you and Donna.
Thanks, Jay. It was a pleasure. Always valuable stuff from you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
I hope we managed to bring more awareness to the topic of productizing, to which I was a complete newbie when we...
Yeah. Go get started.